San Antonio. Suspect is believed to have been killed by police. Again, we were hearing reports that the suspect was taken alive. We heard reports that that there were only 2 dead. Now we're hearing reports that there are 15 dead.
Yep.
So again, we're trying to divide fact from fiction. Also, the Governor Greg Abbott of Texas, says the shooter had a handgun and possibly a rifle. So that is what we know currently right now, is that in this shot, we are waiting for a press conference. We will not get that for an estimated 58 minutes. It's going to be 5 o'clock Central Time, 58 minutes from now, before the scheduled time of the press conference. And Ryan, that's really everything we know about this absolute tragedy.
Yeah, and the number is obviously most significant right now. Again, it's from the Texas Governor, Greg Abbott. And Mike, thanks for that information. Great job recapping it and showing us that map. 85 miles west of San Antonio, Governor Greg Abbott says 15 have been killed in the school shooting, including one teacher who the Associated Press reports as a 66-year-old woman. 14 kids, according to the governor, have also died in this shooting. And we are looking, I believe, at the school here. This is in Uvalde, Texas. Is Robb Elementary School. And Mike did a good job breaking down the size of that community.
Yeah, Ryan, Ryan,
Mike, pop your mic on real quick, too, for me.
Sorry, Ryan, not to butt in, but I feel like it's...
So
I apologize about that. Ryan, I believe it's all but confirmed.
Okay.
That, 14, at least 14 people have died, and most of them are children today at this shooting at Robb Elementary School in Texas.
And the one teacher also reportedly killed as well. Okay, we do have to take a break. When we come back, we'll continue to recap what we're watching here. Again, 15 dead in a school shooting in Texas, according to Governor Greg Abbott. And as we get more information, we'll bring it to you. In about 55 minutes, we're planning to receive a press conference from officials.
Ryan,
yeah,
I might have a few more facts if you just want to go full screen.
Yeah, sure.
I'll read some off. Excuse me. Governor Greg Abbott has confirmed 14 students, 1 teacher are dead following a mass shooting at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde. Abbott said that the 18-year-old shooter is also dead.
Yeah.
Abbott has identified the shooter as 18-year-old Salvador Romas. He was killed by police. According to the governor of Texas, the shooter abandoned his car and entered the elementary with a handgun and possibly a rifle, and then he shot and killed a total of 15 people, 14 of which were children. Those are the latest updates, according to the governor of Texas and sources that he has.
Looks like we're losing our camera shot there. So let's go ahead and take a quick break, a 3-minute break. We come back, we continue to follow this breaking information. 15 dead at a school shooting in Texas. We'll have more when we come back on Local News Live.
Streaming 24/7, you're watching Local News Live. delivers to you anytime you need it. This is Local News Live.
Bring you back to Local News Live with this breaking news. Texas Governor Greg Abbott is saying 15 are dead in a school shooting in Texas. 14 of them are children, and a teacher who is 66 years old has also been killed. Of the 14 that are dead, one of them was the suspect. He was shot by police. He is an 18-year-old that is being considered the suspect that was killed by police. So 14 children dead. One teacher has been killed as well, according to the Texas governor in the school shooting. Let's take a quick break and check in with our national forecast, courtesy of WMTV in Madison, Wisconsin.
This is your Local News Live national forecast.
I'm NBC 15 Chief Meteorologist Charlie Shortino from Madison, Wisconsin. Time for a Local News Live update. And here's where we stand. Low pressure located over Texas will turn into a feature that impacts a good deal of the nation's midsection over the next 48 hours. We're already seeing thunderstorms firing up in very warm, humid, and unstable air, and there is the threat of severe thunderstorms in this general vicinity as we head through the afternoon and evening hours. This warm front extends off the low south of the front. Very warm, very humid. To the north of the front, cooler. As a matter of fact, below average temperatures expected over much of the north central part of the country. High pressure dominating the weather in the northeast and the northwest. Pretty quiet in both of those locations. So let's put it in motion. Here goes our low heading through the plains by 10 a.m. tomorrow. That low is centered near Kansas City. Warm front pushing northward, so that area of warm and humid conditions expands through the Tennessee Valley and the mid-Mississippi Valley. Still very quiet off to the west and in the northeast. So here goes our low, continuing to move northeastward toward the Great Lakes, spreading rain in that direction. All right, so let's take a look at some of the rainfall forecast totals. Oh, we'll do that in a moment. We'll look at high temperatures first. And as I said, very warm to the south, highs in the upper 70s to upper 80s, even some 90s over Florida, but 60s over the northern part of the country for high temperatures. Those are below average. Look at Denver, only 54. Here are those rain totals. 1.5 inches, maybe pushing 2 inches. Local totals could exceed 3 or 4 inches in some of the bigger thunderstorms over eastern Texas northward toward Arkansas and Oklahoma. That is your Local News Live weather update. Now back to your Local News Live station.
From the Gray Television Digital Studios, this is Local News Live.
Bring it back to Local News Live as we are watching this breaking news story. 15 dead in a school shooting in Texas, according to Governor Greg Abbott, as he is confirming that information. Abbott says the suspected shooter, an 18-year-old man, also died and was believed to have been killed by responding officers. He said 14 children and one teacher were killed at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, which is 85, and Mike did a great job, my co-host and producer, showing that earlier, 85 miles west of San Antonio, Texas. Abbott says the shooter had a handgun and possibly a rifle. 15 people killed, including, according to the Associated Press, a 66-year-old woman who we now know is the teacher. Now, this happened late this morning. We went about 3 hours without receiving any update, and then reports came into the Associated Press from a local hospital that 2 children were dead and over a dozen were hospitalized. We also were told that a 66-year-old woman had been hospitalized and was in critical condition. Now we're being told, we're learning from the governor, Governor Greg Abbott, that 14 children and 1 teacher is dead in this school shooting from earlier today. It is a big breaking story today, and we'll continue to monitor it. It happened at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas, about 85 miles west of San Antonio. We are anticipating in about 45 minutes that police will share with us an update on all this information and then kind of flesh out the details in terms of how this actually happened earlier today. The most critical information, though, obviously, is that 14 students have been killed, including the gunman who was shot fatally by police, as well as that one teacher who has been killed, according to the Associated Press, which got their information from Governor Greg Abbott. And we will continue to update you as more of this information comes in. Okay, we just had a weather. We're up against another break. We'll take one. We're going to make sure when we come back that we have an eye on, this is a camera from San Antonio, Texas, KSAT. They have a shot of the school. We are going to make sure that we have an eye on the school. We are waiting for a press conference to take place in about 45 minutes. In the meantime, when we come back from our break, we will go back to our news from our great TV stations across the country today. But in the meantime, we are going to keep a close eye on this 15 dead school shooting earlier today in Uvalde, Texas. 3-minute break. Back with more on Local News Live.
Streaming 24/7, you're watching Local News Live. Anytime you need it. This is Local News Live.
Bring you back to Local News Live to head out to this update in Texas from police on a school shooting from earlier today.
Families and their prayers, I hope you do as well. And we also want to respect the privacy of the family. It is still being worked on. And again, we'll notify the parents and the families as soon as we have some news for them. Thank you so much.
We greatly appreciate your understanding and patience with us. Please know at this time, we are only making a statement. We will be releasing more information as the investigation continues. We appreciate your courtesy. At this time, it concludes our press conference. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
So a very quick update there, and you caught most of that. Officials essentially confirming what we do know already. Texas Governor Greg Abbott announced earlier today that 15 are dead in a school shooting from Texas. Happened around 11:32, so police did give it exact time when this took place. If you're watching now here on Local News Live, we appreciate you tuning in. 15 dead in a Texas school shooting earlier today. That includes one teacher and the suspect. I think I'm going to lose my feed here in just a second, so I do want to bring up this graphic here for you with the information that we know. So it happened at an elementary school in Uvalde, Texas, 85 miles west of San Antonio. Police did just confirm a time. I think that might be the most latest information that we got from that brief update. 11:32 today. They called it a mass casualty incident took place where a suspect opened fire at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. The suspect is believed to have been killed by police, and they confirmed that in that press conference. The governor says the suspect had a handgun and a rifle. 14 children killed, one teacher, a 66-year-old woman, were killed in that shooting today. So that is the most up-to-date information that we have for you here on Local News Live. And we're going to give you another update at some point today. We expect them to give us a full update, and police did say that. They will come back in about 40 minutes to give us more information, but they did want to talk to the press with the notes about Governor Greg Abbott saying that 15 have been killed in the school shooting to confirm that information. Here is a shot we have on our feeds, our CNN feeds. As you can see, that is the hospital in the San Antonio area where we are learning 14 children have been killed following a school shooting, and then a 66-year-old woman, a teacher, has also been killed in that incident. So we'll go ahead and we'll end this Facebook live feed, as that is the information we can give you at this point. There is a shot outside of, I believe, the school where we're going to get a press conference in about 40 minutes. When we do get more information, though, we're going to bring it to you on Local News Live. But right now, we can confirm what Texas Governor Greg Abbott said, now confirmed very briefly by police. 15 have been killed, including 14 children at a school. Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. One 66-year-old female teacher has also been killed after what they're calling a mass casualty incident earlier today at 11:32. So we are going to break in about 40 minutes. We'll come back here on Local News Live with more of an update. That was a very brief one from police. We caught the tail end of it. A more thorough update when we come back in about 40 minutes on Facebook Live. So stick with us for that. If you're watching on the stream, we appreciate you tuning in to Local News Live. We're going to go ahead and take a 3-minute break and come back with more.
Streaming 24/7, you're watching Local News Live. News that matters to you anytime you need it. This is Local News Live.
Bring you back to Local News Live. You just had a brief update from Texas. Governor Greg Abbott says 15 dead, including 1 teacher, 14 students in a school shooting from earlier today in Robb Elementary. Governor Abbott did put out a press release. Let me see if I can find him on Twitter and pull that up.
I can't find it.
Okay, so he's not posted on Twitter. No, it's fine. All right, so we'll continue to look for that. In the meantime, let's go ahead and take another break as we are gaining more information on, and the governor's not posted something on his social media yet. So we'll get that information for you. In the meantime, one more break. Back with more on Local News Live.
Streaming 24/7, you're watching Local News Live. News that matters to you anytime you need it. This is Local News Live.
Bring you back to Local News Live as we're learning 15 have been killed in a Texas school shooting 85 miles west of San Antonio. 14 of them are students, including the gunman, and a teacher has been killed as well. We're going to go out to an interview from WOIO in just a second, talking to somebody, an expert about school safety and school security. Real quick, though, Governor Greg Abbott posted this statement just a few moments ago. He says Texans across the state are grieving for the victims of this senseless crime and for the community of Uvalde. Cecilia and I mourn this horrific loss, and we urge all Texans to come together to show our unwavering support to all who are suffering. We thank courageous first responders who worked to finally secure Robb Elementary School. I have instructed the Texas Department of Public Safety and the Texas Rangers to work with local law enforcement to fully investigate the crime. The Texas Division of Emergency Management is charged with providing local officials all the resources necessary to respond to this tragedy. as the state of Texas works to ensure the community has what it needs to heal. So that is Texas Governor Greg Abbott, who confirmed that 15 have been killed in this school shooting from 11:32, according to the very brief update from police we had a couple seconds ago. Okay, let's go out to WOIO, Cleveland 19 News. They are talking with an expert on school security. Let's go out to that coverage as we await for more information from Texas.
That far beyond the reaches of the schoolhouse doors, and we don't know what might slip in or slip through the cracks. So we're shifting our training here based on my doctoral research at Johns Hopkins on strategic crisis leadership and safety threats. And we're really focusing more on situational awareness and teaching people to be mindful, to put the phones down whether you're in a mall, in a parking lot, a shopping center, the grocery store, or whether you're supervising kids in hallways, cafeterias, restrooms, and bus drop-off and pickups and playgrounds. Be as situationally aware as you can. Keep your mind focused and grounded on where you are. We know that people, particularly if you're dealing with regular patterns of behavior like monitoring playgrounds, supervising kids in schools, you can get that gut feeling, that intuitive feeling, that pattern recognition, we call it really, of what's right and what isn't. Even if it's dealing with one kid, this kid's off today, something's wrong. Hey man, you're doing all right. Can I help you with anything? You need somebody to talk to. And so we really need to focus on that. We need our checklist and our emergency response plans, but if we're going to prevent stuff like this, we have to work and be grounded, be really mindful of where we are, situationally aware, trained to that standard, test to that standard, and then have your written protocols and things that you're trained to for response. But it's getting more and more challenging. I've been in this field for more than 30 years, and it's not getting any easier.
Yeah, Ken, to your point, so we have all of the security measures actually printed off from the district and specifically from the school. There are 6 officers that are employed for the entire district. As far as the security measures that happened at that elementary school, they have fencing, and then they have like a locked classroom policy, which I'm sure is pretty standard across the board. But it doesn't seem like there was anything that stopped from the measures that they had in place with that perimeter fencing. It didn't seem like any of that played at all a difference.
Yeah. Well, I haven't been able to deep dive into that specific district, but I do know from our work in Texas schools that a lot of districts have their own school police. Like here in Northeast Ohio, we have local police departments and sheriffs, at least in pre-K through 12 schools, maybe a state trooper in some of our more rural areas. But in Texas, they actually have their own school police department. So when I hear 6 officers, I'm thinking maybe they had their own people. They're all not necessarily assigned to every single school. They could be mobile. So what I've seen very early into this is we're all looking at this as it's breaking, is that they did have a number of things in place that we would expect for emergency response. They called a lockdown, not only at their school. I thought it was very wise on their part to call one district-wide, because you don't know what the threat is. Are there other people targeting other schools? Is this a more organized attack or the more typical lone offender? That was very insightful on their part to take it beyond their immediate school. They had parent-student reunification. They got messaging out immediately that there is an active shooter. Don't come to the school. We'd expect that with a good communications plan, crisis communications plan, and then a parent-student reunification center to get kids back with their parents as soon as possible, move those kids. Those are a half a dozen elements really that I saw just on the early end of this that tells me, okay, they had a plan. They had a crisis plan, and they're doing the right things there. There are just some things that, the good news is out of all these years since Columbine, decades later, we are getting better at preventing these incidents. We don't hear about the preventive ones many times, the things that school resource officers, teachers, counselors, administrators prevent that fortunately will never come to an incident like this. The bad news is we're dealing with human behavior. We're dealing with a society inside and outside of school where people are more stressed or more anxious. They have a lot of social emotional issues. Our kids in schools, the violence this school year returning from COVID has been off the charts, like those of us who've been around have never seen for decades. And that's going to manifest in behavior. We've seen it here in Northeast Ohio. We've talked before about that. We've seen it across the country. And the broader society is not much better in terms of our mental health for some people in need in our broader society. You know, here's an important point, and we've got to clarify this. There are many people who have mental health needs who are not violent. Let's make that really clear. Let's not stigmatize those people. But what we do know is that of those people who perform these violent incidents, many of those do have mental health issues. That's an important distinction to make. Many people with mental health needs never going to be violent. Those who do become violent in these high-profile incidents, there is a tendency to show there was undiagnosed, untreated, or some other treated, but off of the normal path of treatment that plays a role in some of this.
Whether it be the shooting here a few weeks ago in Buffalo, if there could be signs, I mean, we don't know. But as far as what we should be doing immediately, what needs to be done now, because clearly what has been happening has not been working, what would you say?
Yeah, in this case specifically, and then we'll talk generally, and specifically in this community, you will see an immediate mental health need for the counselor, for the teachers, the support staff, the parents, the kids, the whole community. That's a given. You'll see calls for increased hardware and equipment, the metal detectors, the cameras, but we know these are people issues, behavior, supervision, relationship issues that really prevent these. And people will call for a lot of quick fixes, but they need to focus on the best practices that may be invisible to make it secure. Broader society, what I'm preaching now and teaching, and we've changed our entire training to focus on situational awareness. The good news for our viewers here is that the vast majority of people will never experience a first-hand mass shooter. We need to put it in context. One is one too many, but most people will never do that. But for day-to-day safety, whether you're going to the grocery store and the parking lot at the mall, or you're at school dropping off your kids' pickup, or you are a student in school and you're a teacher, situational awareness, be mindfulness, take our heads out of that phone, ground ourselves into where we are, be aware of our surroundings, follow your gut feelings, know if something's wrong. If you see something, say something, and if somebody tells you something, then you, whether you're working in a business or in a school, need to know, what do I do when somebody tells me that? We hear see something, say something. We say see something, say something, do something once it's told, because we've had parents, grandparents report kids who are coming to school with weapons or have a plot that they discovered while their own children or grandchildren are on the way. We've had people who report things and they see it. Best rule is, if your gut feeling tells you something's off, if you're out in public, act on it, tell somebody, get away from it, let somebody know, follow your gut feeling, because as human beings, we tend to talk ourselves out of what our gut feeling tells us because we're afraid we'll be wrong. We don't want to be embarrassed. We don't want to mischaracterize something. Go with your gut feeling.
Ken, you've kind of answered all that we have here. I mean, there's a lot of unknowns, obviously, so we'll probably be speaking with you once a little bit of this becomes more clear, but is there anything else that we should have talked about that we didn't?
Yeah, it's frustrating. We're all frustrated. I've been doing this for 3 decades. There is no quick fix. These are deep-rooted behavioral issues. These are deep-rooted societal problems. When they occur in school, it's even more traumatic for all of us because it affects our youngest. Any violence like that in Buffalo that you covered, it hurts people. It hits our hearts. It hits our hearts twice as hard when it's our young people and our kids. And as a parent, as a professional in this, stay vigilant, stay alert, put things into context. Don't be terrified to leave your house or make your children overly afraid. Have age-appropriate and developmentally appropriate conversations. Use some good common sense. And just be cognizant and aware of what's going on around you. Stay alert, put the phone down when you're in public places, and be aware. And then if something seems off, follow your gut feeling and go with it, because you're probably right.
Ken Trump, as always, we appreciate your time. We appreciate your insight in all of this, and we are incredibly thankful that you were able to make this work. Thank you so much.
Yeah, always good to work with you. Unfortunately, in the bad situations, but we appreciate the time that you focus on to get the full details out. Thanks, Jeff.
Thanks, Ken. Appreciate it.
Recording.
So that was Ken Trump's school security expert, who we've used in multiple different ways. We constantly use him whenever we need something here. You're seeing these videos, and I want to go back out live now to outside of the elementary school. You can't really put into words what you're seeing, which are parents relieved that they are able to pick their kids up from school today. You are seeing family members relieved that their loved ones are okay. You're seeing tears. And for every one person that you're seeing being picked up from the school successfully, remember that 14 kids are not being picked up today. 14 kids died today from this shooting, and that is just horrific. So we are going to be reporting on this here on 19 News, and you will obviously see much more information become available progressively throughout the next couple of days, weeks, months, hopefully hours. There, I believe, is a chance that we could get an update from police. Coster, is that still a possibility?
That's what they're saying at 6.
Okay, so there's a chance for a 6 o'clock update. If that does happen, we will do another digital stream here with 19 News, but we're going to actually end this one right now to prepare for 19 News at 6 o'clock. So for any more updates, make sure you stay tuned in here from Cleveland 19. If you've been tuning in for Local News Live, we'll send you back to the programming over there. But for all of us here at 19 News, we appreciate your time today. We appreciate you watching, and we will have more coming up in about 20 minutes.
Good stuff there from Cleveland 19 News. Going to transition real quick over to that brief press conference we got moments, really about 20 minutes ago, from police in San Antonio.
And at this point, the investigation is leading to tell us that the suspect did act alone during this heinous crime. Families are being notified, and we are providing services to them as the district should. As far as the rest of the district is concerned, safety measures were taken to make sure that we had a safe release for the rest of the district throughout our city of Uvalde. And we had numerous law enforcement officers and agencies that assisted with the safety release for those students. We do want to keep all their families in their prayers. I hope you do as well. And we also want to respect the privacy of the family. Everything is still being worked on. And again, we'll notify the parents and the families as soon as we have some news for them. Thank you so much.
We greatly appreciate your understanding and patience with us. Please know at this time, we are only making a statement. We will be releasing more information as the investigation continues. We appreciate your courtesy. At this time, it concludes our press conference. Thank you.
So a very brief press conference from police about 20 minutes ago, and we're going to get a more in-depth one within the next hour, we suspect. And when we do get it, we'll bring it to you here on Local News Live. We appreciate you tuning in on this afternoon to LNL as we are monitoring this breaking news situation. 14 children have been killed and one teacher in a Texas school shooting in Uvalde, Texas. That's 85 miles west of San Antonio. You heard from police there. That was one bit of information that I wanted to note that I didn't get a chance to earlier, that multiple schools were locked down right after this incident took place around 11:32 this morning. So police, as they described, they contacted other local schools. They were able to lock those schools down as police went to work and eventually fatally shot the suspect, according to Governor Greg Abbott. But again, 14 children killed and one teacher dead in a school shooting from earlier today, as we have a shot outside the hospital there in Uvalde, Texas. 3-minute break. We'll keep you updated on this breaking news story on Local News Live.
Streaming 24/7, you're watching Local News Live. news that matters to you anytime you need it. This is Local News Live.
Bring you back to Local News Live with this breaking news update. The big story today, a gunman kills 15 children have been killed in a school shooting as a teacher was also killed in the shooting. So 14 children, one teacher, excuse me, killed in a shooting in Texas earlier today at the Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, about 85 miles west of San Antonio. We just heard from police about 20 minutes ago where they noted it happened at 11:32, shortly before lunch. They called it a mass casualty incident. I'll go ahead and take this shot here full for you. This is outside of the police department in Uvalde, Texas. We're going to get an update from police, we anticipate, in about 13 minutes. So we're waiting for that to take place. Governor Greg Abbott has informed us that an 18-year-old, we don't know his relationship to the school yet. We anticipate we'll probably get that in a little bit. Opened fire earlier today at 11:32, killing 14 children, as well as a 66-year-old woman. She is a teacher at the school. So that is an update on the casualties. We learned about an hour ago of that particular bit of information about the 14 children being killed and the teacher as well. Throughout most of the day, we thought there may not be any in this incident. It happened around 11:32, and then the news started to break around 3 o'clock that 14 children and one teacher had been killed, 15 in total. This is the Senate floor in Texas. We anticipate that a representative from Texas is going to speak in just a couple of minutes. When they do, we're going to take that live for you. We are waiting for that to happen. And when it does, we'll take that for you live as well in Local News Live. We also are waiting for police to come on and give us an update on this breaking news situation. But again, we know that a gunman, an 18-year-old, opened fire today at Robb Elementary School at 11:32 in the morning, 85 miles west of San Antonio. He killed 14 students. And then the one teacher was killed. Police also say the gunman was dead, so that would be 16 total in this mass casualty incident, which is what police have called it. We just heard from them a couple minutes ago, a very brief press conference just to kind of confirm with the media that had gathered that the governor was accurate in saying 14 children, one teacher dead, as well as the gunman. They called it a mass casualty incident that took place at 11:32 in Uvalde, Texas at Robb Elementary School. The gunman was a resident of the community, according to the Associated Press, and entered the school with a handgun and possibly a rifle. We'll get more of an update on that in just a couple of minutes. The shooter was likely killed by responding officers, but the events are still being investigated. The gunman acted alone, according to police. Also something to note. It's not immediately clear how many people, in addition to the dead, were hurt, but there were several other injuries, according to police, and we've been hearing from local hospitals throughout the day. The Associated Press has been keeping us up to date about multiple critical injuries.
Ryan, the suspect is, I'm not going on it. Suspect also possibly shot his own grandmother before he went and did the school shooting.
So we're learning more about the suspect as well. Potentially killed his own grandmother before the shooting. Robb Elementary School, and Mike, you were reporting this earlier today, has just under 600 students. It serves second, third, and fourth grade. Police aren't saying which grade the students were shot. The suspect is 18 years old. A heavy police presence is still by the school. We have a shot of the police department where an update will be given in just a little bit. We're also monitoring the Senate floor where we anticipate a representative from Texas is going to give us an update as well. Okay, quick break, 1 minute. When we come back, we'll continue to tell you what we know. Any more breaking information on this story we'll give to you. We are waiting for two things, either a police press conference, which we'll make sure to bring to you, or a representative from Texas to speak on the Senate floor. Take a quick break, 1 minute, back with more on Local News Live.
Online and anywhere you are, you're watching Local News Live, a great television production. From the Gray Television Digital Studios, this is Local News Live.
Bring you back to Local News Live for this breaking news story this afternoon. 14 children killed, 1 teacher dead in a school shooting in Uvalde, Texas. We have the Senate floor up for you because we're waiting for a Texas representative to potentially speak. When they do, we'll bring you that live coverage. In the meantime, I'm going to switch the shot back over to Uvalde, Texas. This is outside the police department in Uvalde, where we're about to get an update from police. We have confirmed from police that 14 children have been killed. A teacher, a 66-year-old woman, has also been killed in this Texas school shooting 85 miles west of San Antonio. Police called it a mass casualty incident. It happened at 11:32 this morning in Texas. They believe, in fact, they've confirmed that the gunman did act alone. He's an 18-year-old that is living in the community, according to police. He entered Robb Elementary School shortly after 11:30. It's the deadliest school shooting in Texas history, according to the Associated Press, and occurred 4 years after a gunman fatally shot 10 at Santa Fe High School in the Houston area. So on the anniversary of that killing, we have another, this time 14 killed in an elementary school, as we have a shot from KSAT, that's a San Antonio, Texas, aerial view of this situation. It happened again late this morning. The gunman was a resident of the community, according to the Associated Press, entered the school with a handgun and possibly a rifle before opening fire. I'm going to pull up this bulletin here for you as well. It happened 85 miles west of San Antonio. The suspect has been confirmed that he, or at least they believed to be killed by police. We don't know that for a fact yet, but believed to be killed by police. The governor says the suspect had a handgun and possibly a rifle. And now we're learning that President Biden is going to deliver remarks later on tonight at 7:15. All right, let's take a quick break. Back with more on Local News Live.
Online and anywhere you are, you're watching Local News Live, a great television production. From the Gray Television Digital Studios, this is Local News Live.
Bring it back to Local News Live. Breaking news story this afternoon. 14 children killed, 1 teacher also dead, following a school shooting in Uvalde, Texas. That's 85 miles west of San Antonio. It happened at 11:32 this morning, according to police. They just held a very brief press conference. We anticipate a lengthier one will come soon. Let's replay that for you now. This was from moments ago, well, about 20 minutes ago from police, as they confirmed the information that we have.
More information as the investigation continues. We appreciate your courtesy. At this time, it concludes our press conference. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
That was the presser. I think that one caught the end of it. Let me try to find the lengthier press conference for you. There's a couple going around here. Here we go. I believe I have it. So yes, I'm going to replay the full, which isn't much longer, about a minute and 20 seconds press conference from police earlier today.
To tell us that the suspect did act alone during this heinous crime. Families are being notified, and we are providing services to them as the district should. As far as the rest of the district is concerned, safety measures were taken to make sure that we had a safe release for the rest of the district. throughout our city of Uvalde, and we had numerous law enforcement officers and agencies that assisted with the safety release for those students. We do want to keep all their families in their prayers. I hope you do as well. And we also want to respect the privacy of the family. It is still being worked on, and again, we'll notify the parents and the families as soon as we have some news for them. Thank you so much.
We greatly appreciate your understanding and patience with us. Please know at this time, we are only making a statement. We will be releasing more information as the investigation continues. We appreciate your courtesy. At this time, it concludes our press conference. Thank you.
A brief update from police about a half hour ago. We anticipate a longer one is coming within the next 5 minutes. We'll wait and see if police do take to the podium. We know they will at least give us more information at some point this evening, as we have a shot of the convention center in Uvalde, Texas, as 14 children, one teacher dead in a school shooting happened, as you heard police say, a mass casualty incident at 11:30 this morning. The gunman went into Robb Elementary School, an 18-year-old who does have ties to the community, lives in the community, and opened fire. Now we're hearing from multiple news outlets that the gunman also killed his grandmother before going to the school. So we have the 14 children killed, one teacher, a 66-year-old woman, although we believe that to be the teacher. We're going to get that confirmed, though, from police. Reports are indicating it is. I want to get that confirmed, though, from police. We'll hopefully get that in the next couple of minutes. And then the gunman himself, according to police, and they're going to confirm this as well, but the initial investigation indicates that the gunman was fatally shot by police in this school. So it's at Robb Elementary School, enrollment of just under 600 students, according to the Associated Press. It serves students in 2nd, 3rd, and 4th grade. Police haven't confirmed, though, what grades the students are in who were killed. A heavy police presence is still surrounding the school, with officers in vests. FBI agents are also still at that building, according to the Associated Press. White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre said President Biden has been briefed of the school shooting on Air Force One. He's returning from a 5-day trip overseas in Asia and will continue to receive updates. He's also going to address the nation tonight at 8:15 Eastern Time. The shooting in Texas, to give you some perspective, some context, comes less than 2 weeks after a gunman opened fire in Buffalo, New York, killing 10 black shoppers and workers in what officers have described as a hate crime. Uvalde is home to about 16,000 people, 85
that we found online from the school district is a list of procedures that happen at each and every school. And one of those safety procedures includes perimeter fencing. I'm going to read this coming directly to us from the website for the school district, saying that Robb Elementary is where this shooting happened, has fencing that encloses the campus, and it's designed to limit or restrict access to individuals without a need to be on the campus. When I asked Ken Trump about that, he said that a lot of the times these situations, and a lot of times when you have fencing, things like that, that's not necessarily going to stop a person that is as interested in getting into the building as it seems that this gunman was. The update that we've gotten from the district is still not explaining in full detail exactly what happened. However, we were able to know that the parents of those students that were safe were able to get their kids out and were able to be reunited as soon as possible. That reunion is still going on. In the newsroom, Jeff Slauson, 19 News.
Jeff Slauson from Cleveland 19 News with that perspective as he spoke with an expert on security at schools. And the expert said, look, I mean, sometimes it's just tough, even when you have school officers, to prevent this sort of thing from happening. He did mention what we can expect to happen next as we have a look outside of an active scene in Uvalde, Texas. I believe that is the convention center in Uvalde is where we're seeing a lot of those vehicles, but I'm going to try to double check that. Going back to that interview from WOIO, they said, look, on the campus, and they still can't in Uvalde, in Texas. Again, Robb Elementary School is where this happened, but obviously that can't bring back the lives of the 14 children that have been killed in this. Happened around 11:32 today. One teacher has also been killed in this incident. We're getting reports from the Associated Press that a 66-year-old woman was hospitalized in critical condition and later died. The initial reports indicated that that was the teacher. Let's get that confirmed first, though, from police when they come on here. We anticipate that's going to happen relatively shortly. We also think we might get a speaker on the Senate floor from Texas. A Texas senator is anticipated to speak at some point as well. So we are watching for both of those right now. As we heard from Governor Greg Abbott, here is his statement. I'm going to pull that up for you earlier today. This was shortly after the news broke that 14 children had been killed, and Greg Abbott was the one to initially confirm the information from police. He says Texas across the state are grieving for the victims of this senseless crime and for the community of Uvalde. Cecilia and I mourn this horrific loss, and we urge all Texans to come together to show our unwavering support to all who are suffering. We thank the courageous first responders who worked to finally secure Robb Elementary. I've instructed the Texas Department of Public Safety and the Texas Rangers to work with law enforcement to fully investigate this crime. The Texas Division of Emergency Management is charged with providing local officials all resources necessary to respond to this tragedy as the state of Texas works to ensure the community has what it needs to heal. And this is a shot in Uvalde, Texas, where this took place earlier today. We are waiting an update from police. We anticipate within the next hour we should get more information. While we do wait, I'm going to try to replay this interview from WOIO as they spoke with an expert earlier this afternoon about school safety, about security, and how potentially this may impact that discussion in Uvalde, Texas. Let's see here if we can have a quick look. It looks like it may not be up yet on their social media feed, so when it is, I'll go ahead and find it and replay that for you.
Ryan, I sent you an email of Senator Chris Murphy from Connecticut on his website talking about the shooting.
Perfect. Now, Mike, thank you for that.
I'm trying to download the video, I can't.
So I'll go ahead and play that in just a second. Speaking of the senator, we are looking at the Senate floor where we may get, looks empty at the moment, we may get a Texas representative speaking in just a second. Let's go back to this shot, though. As you can see, obviously, a lot of police vehicles are outside of this building. I believe, I'm looking at what we have in terms of information that this is a local, well, let me double check here before I say it. They're not giving me an exact spot where this is at. I thought this might be actually a convention center, but I don't want to confirm that, as it's tough to say. But as you can see, obviously heavy police presence. Uvalde, Texas, 14 children, 1 teacher killed in a shooting earlier today. It happened at 11:32. Officials are calling it a mass casualty incident. And we are getting some more reaction from lawmakers. We heard from Governor Greg Abbott, and we also had a senator speak moments ago on social media. I'm going to pull that up for you now. Mike, thank you for sending that to me. It's Chris Murphy. He's a Connecticut senator. He was speaking on the Senate floor shortly after this happened, very briefly, but let's hear what the senator had to say.
For their lives. Hang out at a high school in South Florida. Turn on your television right now, you're going to see scenes of children running for their lives. What looks to be the 19th school shooting in this country, and we have not even hit March. I'm coming to the floor to talk about something else, but let me just note once again for my colleagues that this happens nowhere else other than the United States of America. This epidemic of mass slaughter, this scourge of school shooting after school shooting. It only happens here not because of coincidence, not because of bad luck, but as a consequence of our inaction. We are responsible for a level of mass atrocity that happens in this country with zero parallel anywhere else. As a parent, it scares me to death that this body doesn't take seriously the safety of my children. And it seems like a lot of parents in South Florida are going to be asking that same question later today. We pray for the families, for the victims. We hope for the best.
Senator Murphy, Chris Murphy from Connecticut, recently speaking on the Senate floor. Obviously very passionate there about the violence that we've seen. Texas Governor Greg Abbott, then confirmed by police, saying 14 children, 1 teacher killed in a school shooting earlier today. Mike, I'm going to see if you can help me out here. I'm looking for WOIO. They had a great interview earlier from a official on emergency response to this type of thing, as well as school security. We'll try to find that for you and pull that up when we can. But just to recap what we're looking at here.
I'll send you the link.
Perfect. Thanks, Mike. So an 18-year-old gunman opened fire today at Robb Elementary School in Texas. It's the deadliest shooting at a U.S. grade school since the shocking attack in Sandy Hook, Connecticut, almost a decade ago, according to the Associated Press. The gunman entered Robb Elementary School in this community about 85 miles west of San Antonio at 11:30 with a handgun and possibly a rifle. It's not been revealed. His motive has not been revealed yet, but the shooter was a resident of the community, according to police. Thanks, Mike. Texas Governor Greg Abbott says that 14 children were killed, and the shooter was likely killed by responding officers. We anticipate when a press conference comes on, we'll probably get that confirmed as well. Earlier this afternoon, Cleveland 19 News, WOIO, spoke to an expert about school security, school safety, and can we anticipate maybe a greater discussion about that after this shooting? I'm going to pull that interview up earlier, as Jeff Slauson did a great job with it. Let's see if we can pull them in here. Yep. All right. I'll pull up their shot. In the meantime, we'll continue to monitor what we are watching, this shot here of Uvalde, Texas.
Campus, but that's to limit or restrict access without needing to, for people that are not allowed to be on campus. It also lists that the district employs 4 officers The district does, 4 safety officers. And according to the website, there were 6. All right, so we're going to let Ken Trump join us here, who is our security expert. Let's see if Ken can hear me. Hey, Ken, you got me?
Yeah, I got you. Sorry. I was just...
No problem. We are actually already live, Ken, just to let you know, so I don't catch you off guard. Just give me 1 second here to situate Ken. Okay, and then I'll go to, so as I had said earlier, and we were very thankful to be joined by Ken Trump, who is our school security expert, we've talked to multiple times, unfortunately, on situations like these, Ken. So yeah, we appreciate you joining us on so short notice.
Yeah, and sorry it's again on this topic, but it's
Recording
heartbreaking.
in progress.
It's absolutely heartbreaking. I'm just getting the reports in that we're looking at 15 people, 14 kids, 1 teacher. From what I understand, as this is unfolding, elementary school. Look, these are always a punch in the gut to anybody as a parent. I've worked on the Parkland, Sandy Hook cases on civil litigation, and San Bernardino school shooting, doing forensic analysis on these. I've worked in schools where a kid brought an AK-47 to school, fired a couple rounds in the hallway, and completed suicide. After that, kid with a tree saw and a machete. So I've been out there on the front lines with these, and then analyzing them afterwards, and it's just a punch in the gut anytime, but it's even a bigger punch when we're talking elementary school kids. Parents want to drop off their kids in the morning, pick them up in the same healthy condition in the afternoon, and hopefully a little bit smarter. But these things will totally result in an upheaval of the whole school community. First of all, you're going to see a need, obviously, just for the students, survivors, but also the parents, for the teachers, the faculty, the staff. Imagine how this impacts a school and the school community. You're going to hear calls for automatically for metal detectors and more equipment and cameras and all those physical, tangible things that make you feel better. But oftentimes in implementation or security theater, they give you the perception of greater security, but how they are run or not run. You put them on during a day with metal detectors, and then in the evening, all of a sudden you're after school, they're not running them, and you can go in for performing arts and other types of programs, athletics, and put something in the school and go in clean in a metal detector in the morning, and then go retrieve the weapon that you got. So a lot of the best safety and security is unseen. We know that from an analysis of all these high-profile active shooter cases I've worked in, other cases, that in hindsight, when people make allegations of failures, they're focusing on failures of people, policies, procedures, training, the human factors. They're not saying that the cameras, the metal detectors, the equipment didn't work. It's about people. And the two most things that are important are in schools are relationships and supervision, in terms of trying to identify the threat from within. Somebody that has a plot to cause harm to themselves, to others, or has weapons. But the other challenge we have, Jeff, and this is increasing in terms of making it harder for us to identify, are these outsider threats. We don't know the facts today, but I can tell you, weeks ago out in California, a middle-aged male walked into a school, had no association with that school, and stabbed a 15-year-old girl. Those are things that are outside the boundaries and the parameters of what we've typically trained and looked at from Columbine era of the threat from within. Now we have these unknowns. We have, a volatile, uncertain, chaotic world today that far beyond the reaches of the schoolhouse doors, and we don't know what might slip in or slip through the cracks. So we're shifting our training here based on my doctoral research at Johns Hopkins on strategic crisis leadership and safety threats. And we're really focusing more on situational awareness and teaching people to be mindful, to put the phones down whether you're in a mall, in a parking lot, a shopping center, the grocery store, or whether you're supervising kids in hallways, cafeterias, restrooms, and bus drop-off and pickups and playgrounds, be as situationally aware as you can. Keep your mind focused and grounded on where you are. We know that people, particularly if you're dealing with regular patterns of behavior like monitoring playgrounds, supervising kids in schools, you can get that gut feeling, that intuitive feeling, that pattern recognition, we call it, really, of what's right and what isn't. Even if it's dealing with one kid, this kid's off today, something's wrong. Hey, man, you're doing all right. Can I help you with anything? You need somebody to talk to. And so we really need to focus on that. We need our checklist and our emergency response plans. But if we're going to prevent stuff like this, we have to work and be grounded, be really mindful of where we are, situationally aware, train to that standard, test to that standard, and then have your written protocols and things that you train to for response. But it's getting more and more challenging. I've been in this field for more than 30 years, and it's not getting any easier.
Yeah, Ken, to your point, so we have all of the security measures actually printed off from the district, and specifically from the school. There are 6 officers that are employed for the entire district. As far as the security measures that happened at that elementary school, they have fencing, and then they have like a locked classroom policy, which I'm sure is pretty standard across the board. But it doesn't seem like there was anything that stopped from the measures that they had in place with that perimeter fencing. It didn't seem like any of that played at all a difference.
Yeah. Well, I haven't been able to deep dive into that specific district, but I do know from our work in Texas schools that a lot of districts have their own school police. Like here in Northeast Ohio, we have local police departments